Adventurous kids, explore with education and learning what a wild life is in the Everglades. I want to explore the Museum of Discovering Science. What plants do butterflies like? I want to know about Key West Adventurous Kids, learning and fun. Adventurous Kids!
Today, I'm going to be telling you about Sir Francis Drake. So, in the 1500s, Spain controlled much of what we think of as the Americas, right? A little bit of Central and South America and Florida. The English saw all the gold and treasure that the Spanish were able to pillage from the indigenous peoples of the Central and South America region, that they were like, hey, we got to get in on this. We have to go and get this gold. And Queen Elizabeth supported English privateers. So privateers were what we had just before pirates, right? They were sailors that weren't under any official command, and Queen Elizabeth hired these privateers in secret so that she had enough plausible deniability that when they attacked Spanish ships taking their treasure, Queen Elizabeth, when the King of Spain would be like, Queen Elizabeth, she'd be like, I didn't tell them to do that, when really she did, right? So the most famous privateer at that time was a young man called Sir Francis Drake. And what Sir Francis Drake did was he was the first Englishman to sail in the Pacific, and he landed in what we know today as Brazil. When Sir Francis Drake did reach the Pacific, he was met with hurricanes, rough seas. It was really tumultuous waters. He lost a lot of ships during that voyage. Not to mention a bunch of ships. Some ships decided this is too much for us, and they went back to England. So Drake did manage to make it to many Spanish ports, robbing the Spanish blind in what we would know as modern-day Peru and Chile. He learned while he was in Chile that a Spanish treasure ship had sailed north just 2 weeks before Drake had landed there. So Drake sailed toward the ship, catching up to it close to what we would know as Ecuador. He took over the ship with ease, and he pulled from that ship what would be, adjusting for inflation, today's equivalent to anywhere between $14 and $16 million. Gold, silver, jewels, treasures, all kinds of stuff from the Spanish. You can imagine King Philip of Spain was not particularly happy with what had happened. In fact, King Philip was known to refer to Sir Francis Drake as the dragon, right? Because this one man is causing so much turmoil for me in my kingdom. Drake may have sailed as far as Canada, but he did make landfall on the coast of California, close to what we would think of as modern-day San Francisco. And he set up what would be the first English settlement in the Americas, in that spot in San Francisco. It wasn't a permanent settlement. It was just there until they were leaving. That's why we think of Jamestown as the first permanent English settlement, and continuous. When he couldn't find the passage he was looking for up close to Canada, he was the first Englishman to circumnavigate the globe and landed in what we know, like we call them the Spice Islands. It's near the Philippines, and that's where his ship actually ran aground. And he needed to wait for the water levels to rise a little bit, for the tide to come in, and for the wind to pick up, but to make the ship as light as possible so that as the wind changed and as the weather rose, they could break free. The crew unfortunately had to offload a lot of cargo, including some of that treasure. Not all of it, just some of it. His ship did eventually get back up and sailing, and Drake made it all the way home. His investors, many wealthy dignitaries, wealthy families, as well as Queen Elizabeth, made tons of money. They were all very happy, and Drake was greeted as a hero. 8 years later, he led the English in a great defeat over the Spanish Armada, and then again he tried to go back to the Americas in 1596, but he did pass away on that trip, and he is buried at sea off the coast of Panama. He was mourned in England and wildly missed. He was a hero. He brought back treasure, great defeat over the Spanish, and even found some new land for the English to go back and potentially go back and settle. But like most historical figures, Sir Francis Drake wasn't completely blameless, right? He is responsible for having some conflicts with indigenous tribes as he made landfall in parts of the Americas, as well as the war he waged with Spain, which was really over nothing more than money. Not to mention, he did participate in his early years of sailing in what was known as the slave trade at the time. So, great man. We have the Drake Passage. We have, different spots of the Pacific and Atlantic that we know of because of Drake and other explorers. He was a great hero for Spain, got lots of gold for Queen Elizabeth, and he will always be remembered as the father and the start of the privateers, which would eventually become pirates. Thank you for watching this Adventurous Kids episode.
What did you learn today?
Adventurous Kids!
Adventurous Kids!
What was the most interesting fact?
Adventurous Kids!
Adventurous Kids!
Adventurous Kids!